like you wouldn't have that conversation. You'd be like, wow, what happened? Like, what's going on? Can you tell me more about, like, how can I help you out? Having that conversation and being a friend and actually helping, providing a solution versus the typical person. What's your bedroom? What's the square footage? Is it a concrete block? What's the type of, completely changes the game. I'm a friend. I'm here to help you out. I'm not a typical car salesman.
Welcome to the Real Estate Riches Podcast, your source for real estate investment education. Each week, we'll feature an interview with a successful investor who will share their story to help us better understand the business of real estate investing. And now, here's your host, Gabe Da Silva.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Real Estate Riches Podcast. I'm here with my good friend, Zach Ginn from South Florida today. And we are going to unpack all things seller outreach. We're going to talk about his business, what he's up to down there, and how he's seen things scale and grow through COVID. At the time of this recording, we are in the middle of the COVID pandemic. If you're watching this now in real time, you'll know that. If you're watching this later, just know that we are in month 6, 7, or 8 of this lockdown. But guys like Zach are out there doing business. So Zach, I'm going to kick it to you. Tell the folks a little bit about yourself. Give them your origin story, if you can.
All right. I feel like Thor behind you. The hammer is my origin story. So for all my people in South Florida, you're going to kill me. I'm in Port St. Lucie, which is technically South Florida in the same metropolitan market, but it's a little more north than what the average South Floridian does. But yeah, so I'm Zach Ginn. I'm 21 years old. I've been into real estate wholesaling since I was 17. I got my first deal at 17 years old. Just a quick story. I can go in for hours and hours and hours about it. I just started sticking bandit signs out near my high school wrestling tournaments. Fast forward more of that, I made about $100,000 wholesaling by the time I graduated high school. Went to college, and I basically graduated last year. But basically, I went to school for like 4 months, cold calling out of my dorm, made another $100K wholesaling there, came home, took my university classes online, graduated, and I basically partnered up with my dad, Rick, who is the #1 wholesaler here in St. Lucie County, which is Port St. Lucie, which everyone knows that market. Pretty famous. We got some other coaches there. So partnered up with him, and now I run his operations, and we run the top wholetailing operation, basically my market, Treasure Coast niche of Florida. And that's it. I run a YouTube channel where I kind of help people out and talk about it. But overall, that's who I am.
Amazing. So 3.5-ish years into the business, you got your first taste of it at 17, lock up that deal, generating massive amounts of momentum. And just, and so me knowing a little bit more about your story, I know that you were hustling right out of the gate. And so you've logged at a young age a lot of experience, which is why I wanted us to spend time together kind of unpacking all things seller outreach and contact and acquisitions, because I know it's what you do for your team. I know you do it amazingly well. And so you've logged the 10,000 hours. You have put in 10,000 hours of deliberate practice to become a master in this. So despite your age is but a number. Experience is what it's all about. And you've got a ton. So I'm excited. Let's jump in with what's working right now. So seller outreach wise, acquisitions wise, I know you alluded to bandit signs early on. I know you guys do a ton of mailing. So what's a ton of texting, if I remember correctly. So what's hitting for you guys right now?
Yeah, so every market is completely different. I talk to people all over the country, different students, things like that. Again, I have students out there in like Southern California. I'm telling you right now, if you do a direct mail piece, it might suck. Like, I'm telling you, driving for dollars out in those crazy markets is the best. And then I got people in my market, you do driving for dollars, you're going to get killed. So throughout the whole country, this is very specific to my market. So don't get too like shook up with this. Like, Zach, you're talking about direct mail doesn't work, but I got to see what your market is. But for me, specifically in my market, I'm in a crazy, crazy competitive market. So direct mail and SMS have been the top ones for us, especially during this COVID pandemic. I blanket everything basically. So you'll get a bunch of direct mail from me, and then you'll get blanketed on SMS on a monthly basis from me. So that's it. I mean, I stick to those 2 marketing channels. Again, we flirt with other ones here and there. We're always experimenting, but they're not on a full-time basis.
Mm-hmm. So those two outreach efforts in parallel are what works in our market as well. So I'm familiar with those two, working them in parallel. You said you kind of blast, you guys cast a wide net, if I'm interpreting what you're saying correctly. And so you want to see them, you want to see the mail hit them, what, every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks, and then in between a text on some sort of drip campaign?
Yeah, so I do 5 counties. I would love to do RVMs, but I will be put in handcuffs if I did RVMs in Florida, and I'll get charged 100 grand in just fines. So I love RVMs. I'm not allowed to do them. I used to do them like crazy. Again, SMS might be like that in the future with TCPA laws, but I don't know yet. To answer your questions there, basically I do 5 counties, like 5 different markets, and then I do like 5 other virtual markets around the country. So it's a rotation. So 1 month I'll do this specific market, and the next month that market's going to get SMS'd, and then the other one will get direct mail SMS. Again, SMS, I can hit you up every week if I wanted to. I'll get good results. But if I do a mail every week, I'm going to go broke because mail's expensive. So yeah, I just basically hit a market, and then I won't hit that market. I'll hit it with SMS, and we kind of do a rotation with it through area codes.
So if you guys, so for those of you listening, depending on where you are in your journey, what your marketing budget looks like Zach said, what your market in particular works and looks like, these outreach efforts aren't always going to hit the way they hit in our markets, yours and mine, Zach. It works, but maybe cold calling makes more sense somewhere else. Maybe RVM works or is allowed where you are. I know our experience with the VAs and the cold calling and the outsourcing hasn't been that great. I feel like what they identify as a hot lead is often not a lead at all. Have you guys gone that route? Have you guys gone the VA, the cold call route?
Yeah, so cold calling is the best. It's honestly, in my opinion, the best way to get to a seller and get a deal. Here's the problem. When I was in my dorm room in college, cold calling, guess who's the cold caller there closing all the deals? Me. Yeah. So the reason why I was so good at cold calling was I was the one doing it, and I was cold calling 5 hours every single day in my dorm room. That's why I got my 10,000 pretty quickly. If you think about that, 5 hours cold calling, another couple hours on the phone sellers. So that's how I got my 10,000 pretty easy. Cold calling is one of the best ones. The problem is if you use a VA from the Philippines, I know a lot of them are going the South American route because the time zones are the same. It's really difficult. I had VAs cold call for me. The ROI is just not there. Roosters out the wazoo. You probably know about the roosters of the Filipinos. But cold calling is extremely tough. Again, if I was broke again, if you took all my money away from me, I would probably cold call just with a Mojo dialer. But when you're scaling up, cold calling is extremely difficult.
Yeah, I think to your point, if you were to strip everything away and it was you yourself, which depending, like I said, where our listeners are in their journey, if they don't have a marketing budget, and if it is them proper picking up the phone, calling on a list, we would encourage you to do that, right? It doesn't cost you anything but your time. As we scaled, we had the same experience. We went to outsourced callers in the Philippines, 1,000 calls a day, and weren't getting the ROI. And aside from the calls and the dialer and everything else we were paying for, we were also getting bad leads, right? That then burn you, that then waste your resources, your bandwidth, your acquisitions, your team on this end chasing their tail. So we've had a similar experience. So I'm happy to hear you say that we both learned from that lesson. So the stuff that is working then, so the mailers hit, the SMS response is good. Before we started recording, you were talking about how in your market now, you guys are still doing everything in person. Can you talk to us a bit about what you're seeing work with regard to appointments? And I know you share a lot of this on your page, and you have a lot of testimonials from people that you guys have worked with, but maybe unpack that a bit for us.
Yeah, I've probably gone on 250 appointments since COVID hit. I haven't gotten COVID once from it, but hey, I'm just saying, everyone says they're so scared. Again, I've met probably 1,000 people overall. Again, being scared to go on these appointments, it's something you got to look at. COVID's real. I've gotten phone calls. I'm going to tell you before. I've gotten a phone call from people that have gotten COVID. So for example, I've got a phone call 4 weeks ago from a guy. I was ready to meet them Friday. I called them, hey, are we still good to go on like 1 o'clock? Hey, what's going on with the roof here? You know, trying to see where they're at the price. They said, you know, I got a little bit of fever. You know, I don't know. I mean, still come by, but like, I'm just letting you know, I'm a little sick. And I decided not to go there. You told me that, I'm out. And then I call him back, like, he's like, I got COVID. I'm like, yeah, no. So I've had some close calls. I'm not going to lie. But overall, I still go on these appointments in person. It's the difference between getting a $50,000 deal and a $25,000 deal. It's rapport. Acquisitions is everything in my business. Number one is the right marketing list and the right marketing channel. But after that, it's closing it, and the acquisitions is absolutely the best part. And I hear everyone talking about doing virtual deals. I do a bunch of virtual deals in my other markets, but there's no virtual deals in doing 50K. And I guess it's me being greedy, wanting to make extra money on it, but that's the way I got to do it. So everything I do is basically in person. You talk to the best guys out there. They have their guys going out in person for a reason, just because you can read body language and get deals done.
Yes, we couldn't agree more on that point. Also, you alluded to data. I want to go back to that in a minute, but because the data is important, I love how you preface that though with the rapport building piece. Us going out in the field, us understanding what the seller's genuine motivation is, not what they say, but what are they really saying when they say that first thing when you first get there, and spending some time building rapport to understand what their real motivations are. So like you said, the logging of the 10,000 hours with the phone, with the 250 appointments. So you've got the experience now. What are some of your, maybe your top 1, 2, 3 things you like to do when you get in there, when you start the dialogue with the person, with the seller?
On the appointment?
Yeah. Once you're there in person.
Yeah. So I'm gonna spit some game for you guys right here. So I'm gonna let you know, I'm an anti-guru guy. Like, I don't sell like $500 courses trying to sell you guys. Like, everything I give is like for free. Like, I'll give you the whole boat. So when I go see a seller, you only really care about a certain amount of things. First of all, is number one, like, hey, are you a motivated seller or you're not a motivated seller? Black or white. That's all I care about. If I got like, I don't know, maybe I might list it, I might not. I'm pretty easy. So when I talk to sellers, I say a bunch of things. I go through a lot of the Sandler training. I go through a lot of Jordan, like Belfort straight line system stuff. Like, I've studied it all. Like, the hours I put in talking to sellers, I put in hours just like I like to run a lot. So I listen to runs, I listen to podcasts about sales. That's my thing. So this is all, I use so many other different sales guys. But when I talk to people, I try to have them come to conclusions for me. That's the Sandler training way. But overall, when I'm talking to someone, I'm as distant as possible. I know everyone says always be leaving. That's kind of where I'm at. So I'm always from the start of the get-go when I'm talking to someone, say, hey, just list the property. Like, why are you even dealing with me? Like, get out of here. Like, just list the property.
Mm-hmm.
No. Because if I ask them why they want to sell, then they're like, I'm on the offensive. I'm always on the defensive. And they always say, well, I don't want to list it because there's too much repairs. Oh, really? See, now they're coming to conclusions for me. And then I try to see if they're motivated enough. What's the condition of the property? What's their time frame for selling? What's your time frame for moving? Then I just go to the appointment, talk to them, see where they're really at with everything. And if I get a deal, I get a deal. But I spend 90% of my time building rapport. It's not even about the property at that point. So I had a podcast with a couple guys, and they kind of blew my mind on a bunch of stuff with acquisitions. And I did it, but I subconsciously did it without knowing. So here's the biggest piece I've ever thought about acquisitions here. So let's say, God forbid, gave your uncle or your grandma, they're in a financial duress right now, and they have to get rid of the property. And it's like their one rental property they own that's literally just trashed, and they just got to get rid of it. A realtor, they're going to lose too much money with it. What would you do if you have a conversation with them trying to help them out? Like, what would you say this? Hey, Miss De Silva, what's the condition of your property? How many bedrooms is it? How, like you wouldn't have that conversation. You'd be like, wow, what happened? Like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. Can you tell me more about, like, how can I help you out? Having that conversation and being a friend and actually providing a solution versus the typical person. What's your bedroom? What's the square footage? Is it a concrete block? What's the type of, completely changes the game. I'm a friend. I'm here to help you out. I'm not a typical car salesman. So
Yeah.
When I go to my appointments, I'm a friend. I'm not a car salesman, and that's helped me out a lot too.
That's really powerful. The whole scripted, qualified seller qualification list approach to getting bed, bath count, age of roof, things like that. It's really cold. It's not how we do our business. You, I, and a lot of the guys that we know that are successful at this, they come in as solutionists. We want to understand what's going on. We want to listen. We want to be empathic, and then from there say, okay, how can we best serve you? Because we understand and we want to leave you better than we found you. And so whether you choose to sell us the house or you choose to do something else with it, at least we leave you with some data, with some information that you can then use as you go forward. Always and ever approach it that way. I think if you're looking to serve people, they know. And in our market, I know in a lot of markets around the country, people are getting savvier by the minute. And so when you come, like, they smell bullshit coming. So why even try and front them with something that's not authentic, that's not true? I give you a lot of credit for the transparency and for sharing that. That was powerful. That's gold. If you guys are listening, these are things you need to be doing. Stop buying the guru scripts and trying to implement them and asking these cold questions that nobody cares about.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Here's another thing. Why are you asking what the square footage of the property? Just go to the property appraiser and literally look at it's right there. Why are you asking those questions? You know what the answers are. So stop asking them and start actually asking real questions about them.
Mm-hmm. Right. Let's jump backwards now, because before we get there, we have to work with good data. Seemingly good data is hard to come by. There's better sources than others. And I think before we started recording, we were talking about driving for dollars, still one of our preferred ways to list build here locally. It works, it's effective. And then we skip data, obviously, and we get good quality data. So tell us what your experience has been with the data piece, what you think is what's been most effective.
Yeah, so data it's the first line of defense for anything. It's like driving a car. Hey, is the engine good? Is the transmission? And is the actual tires good? Because if one of those things are wrong in a car, you're screwed. The left front tire's done. I don't care how many V's you have in your engine. If it's a V10, it's still not going to go. So if the data's bad, the marketing channel's bad, the acquisition's bad, you're screwed. So everything's got to be perfect. So the first line there, literally the engine block of the whole marketing, the whole wholesaling, flipping thing is the data. So since you're in New Jersey, if I go to one of the busiest places like Bergen County, if I go there and everyone's saying direct mail works, and I just blanket a whole tax list of Bergen County on direct mail, you're going to spend a fortune, you're going to get nowhere because it's an extremely saturated list if you like high equity or something. Mm-hmm. So data's the most important part. It's how you get it. So in a very saturated market like you're in, I would get the data that no one can buy. What's the one list that no one can buy? Driving for dollars. Mm-hmm. Driving for dollars, code violations, water shut off if you can get it. That's a really big one too. But overall, I can tell you data is everything. So if you can get data that no one can buy, that will be the best one possible. Probates are amazing there in New Jersey. But I'll do that one. And then there's always a bunch of other data things you can do. You got to niche out and find what works in your market or not. For us, high equity is pretty good. Absentee owners have been amazing lately. But it's the data that's probably one of the most important parts.
I like the caveat to same as what seller outreach methodology works in your market will be market dependent. Same is true for that data piece. Probate works, requires more of an EQ soft approach, but can be effective. You've got to have a strategy for it. Driving for dollars, which we've said is really powerful. We've got a driving for dollars, a list that continues to pay us. We created this list. We curated this list ourselves 4-ish years ago. This list still generates leads and deals for us now. A list in a town of 3,000 mailable addresses yielded 450 true leads, true candidates that are worth mailing to, skipping, texting, calling. And so if you think about the math, simply 500 out of 3,000, you can hit them 6 times. Whereas if you just spray and pray, EDDM or whatever, you're going to burn 5, it's you can mail to them 6 times versus 1. So just scrub your data, get better data. That's a really powerful. Where any resources that you guys swear by that you think are worth sharing to buy data or to text, like Batch or Skip Force? Do you have any preferred vendors?
Yeah. So I've been criticized before because I have like affiliate codes with all these guys too. Again, here's the truth. If your budget for like SMS is over like $2,000, $3,000, I recommend you use a service that doesn't charge per text. What is it? Lead Sherpa is a good one. I think Launch Control is a good one. If your budget's under $1,000, I think Batch Leads is the best one. Again, I like Batch. For buying data, I would say PropStream's the best for 90% of people. ListSource is better data, but nobody gets the pricing that I get. There's some sweetheart deals with pricing that I can't really talk about too much, but for PropStream and ListSource would be the best ones. PropStream probably the cheapest though.
I think where I was going to bring us full circle is kind of where you went for us a little bit earlier on, talking about going back. And for you, this journey, although intense, and you've been deep in it and you've logged the hours, been on the appointments, been on the calls, you were quick to say, hey, if everything were taken away, I'd go right back to where I started in my dorm room, back on the phone. Anything else that you would do if you were to start over again? I know that'd be your primary outreach method. What else, if you go back, say you had to start all over, no data, no nothing, anything else you think you'd implement right out of the gate?
Yeah. So if you took everything from me, or let's say I'll start from new, I would soak as much knowledge as possible, like I have been doing. I still am. I'm still a student of the game. I'm always listening to new people, new approaches, and everything like that. But money wise, if I had no money, cold calling, driving for dollars if I had the money, even for gas. But cold calling's the cheapest investment you can make, maybe $100 a month and get going on it. I'd probably use PropStream because it's like 90 to $100 a month, $200 a month gets you in the door for this business. It's pretty good. Overall, I would say those are the top 2 ones. Like if you're just got no money, I'm not talking good about bandit signs anymore, just because bandit signs are banned in my counties, because I banned them on purpose, because I blanketed too many bandit signs, and then the county had a whole campaign thing against me. And now no more bandit signs. You can't even put political signs out in my county. That's how bad it is. So sorry for everyone in my county, but I'm the reason. So bandit signs are another really good one too. If you had no money, I had $300 in my bank account. I spent it all on bandit signs. That's how I got my first couple deals. But bandit signs right now, I'd probably stick away. Keep away from them.
Yeah. Similar in our market. I feel like there's very few markets where you can get away with that anymore anyway. But there are other ways, and we just kind of outlined it for those getting started. It's a tank of gas and a cup of coffee on a Sunday morning, and you can curate a really solid list driving through a town in your county. Beyond that, you skip it. Zach's just told you a couple of great resources where you can go get phone numbers tied to those addresses, and then you make calls and you start logging the reps, and you get hung up on a bunch, and you build a thick skin. And you just start asking more genuine questions, try and tease out motivation, but doing so in a way where it feels genuine, where you really do want to help these people understand their situation, build a rapport, all great advice. So I was going to ask a question, and I feel like we've kind of unpacked it a lot, but maybe we just approach it from kind of a different angle. So going back now over the course of these 4 years, and so since you're such a student of sales and negotiations, and I know you've been growing and learning throughout this entire journey, what's the big thing, if you look back on when you started to where you are now, something you were almost certain of, something you believed to be true at the beginning, maybe from watching your pops and from doing the business the way he did, but now something you know to absolutely no longer be true, something that's changed for you in these short 4 years that you've been at the wholesale game?
Yeah, it's just 3 things. It's basically, the first one is I burnt my ships. My dad, he didn't want to help me at all. So he wasn't going to help me at all with wholesaling. I don't think the audience knows that, but I got 16 technically, but at 17, I said, hey, can you teach me wholesaling? He says, no, do it yourself. Do your own deals. And I started doing my own deals. That's how I made $100K in high school doing it. But basically, I had no other option. I literally burnt my ships. I spent all of my money. I was still bag boy at the time. I was scrubbing toilets as a bag boy. I spent all my money in bandit signs, so I had no other option but to just go. Second, it's pretty funny, but I quit my bag boy job after my first couple deals. So now I had no more income coming in. Like, that was secure, I guess. So that's burning the ships. And the last one's just action. I just go. Like, I no questions. Oh, am I gonna get cursed out if I do this over the phone? My skin's like leather now. Like, you're not getting through it. So it's just action and just like a stupid confidence that if I work hard enough, I can get everything done. And I call it stupid because it's kind of stupid for me to have that kind of confidence. But when I'm at an appointment, like my first appointment, I was 17. The only thing I knew off the bat was I literally had to be the most confident man in the world, because if my seller heard my voice at 17 was like squeaky, it was high pitched, like super embarrassing. I was really skinny. Like, it was really embarrassing. So if I had one inkling of like no confidence, that seller would have just smelled the BS, as they say, and they would have kicked me out. I was the most confident guy in the world. I was Grant Cardone. I knew everything about real estate. I knew the landmarks around me. I knew every street. I knew everything. They asked for comps. I gave them like 10 comps right out of my head. So action and confidence, probably the top thing you can do. You don't need experience to have the confidence. You can be really confident and you do well. So I would say action and confidence is the top ones.
Yeah. And if you guys lack some of that, Zach's advice is powerful. Surround yourself, get in proximity to people like Zach, get in proximity to people in your market that are doing the thing that you want to do. I post about this incessantly. Level up your circle. I offer all my students to take appointments with them at first if they need someone else in there with them, just to have a better handle on the cost of construction if you're going in with the intention of buying it as a flip project, things like that. So find resources. There are a lot of guys like Zach and I in your local market, likely, that will support you, that will help you get there. But again, you have to take massive action and step into that position, step into that role mentally, and then show up. And with time, you log the reps and you get there. And so we didn't talk much about Bags to Riches, but tell everybody where they can find you online. Tell them what you're up to. Where do you want us to go to watch your stuff?
Yeah, so it's just Flip with Rick on YouTube. That's probably the most value possible. I do 3 videos a week on there. So every week I usually do like a vlog on like a deal I'm doing, averagely like 40 grand. So I just break down the deal I had that week of like 40 grand. Sometimes I bring Rick on board if he gets really bored out here. But mostly it's just me with my camera, just showing around the property. Every Wednesday I have a Bags to Riches podcast, which I literally bring the top guys in the industry out there. Hopefully we get Gabe on soon. I'm booked out, I think, for the next 8 months, but I'm pumping more people on there. But every single week I literally go live every Wednesday at 5. And then on Friday I do another live Q&A. And I literally I'll go for 2 hours if I can, just answering people's questions, not selling anything, just help people out. That's all I really want to do. Just help people. And if they get value from it, that's it, guys. The one thing you guys got to learn is the more you give and the more you help, the more you receive. So that's the number one advice I can give.
Amen, man. That's powerful. That is exactly why I wanted to do this with you. You are truly a servant. And like I said, you have logged the reps, you've got the experience, and you've been very gracious in sharing that with us. So thank you for being on the show. Thank you for bringing the value the way you always do. And guys, if you're not already following him online, follow him. Please go check out his stuff because it is absolute gold.
Real estate investment rock stars, congratulations on taking one more step toward real estate riches. I know that you're serious about a successful future in the real estate investment business, and the Real Estate Riches podcast is going to help you get there. Head on over to GabeDaSilva.com right now and get yourself signed up for a coaching call where Gabe will help you figure out the next step on your journey. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Real Estate Riches podcast.